Hello, I'm Dana Gardiner, Principal Analyst at Inter Arbor Solutions. I've been an IT industry analyst for over 20 years. I've been engaged with looking at infrastructure and trends, adoption patterns, and productivity payoffs over the course of that time. One of the things I do a lot of is interview people and discuss with them what's going on in the real world. And it always astonishes me how there's a gap or daylight between the conventional wisdom or the zeitgeist and what actually takes place. And there's often a time lag between adoption and, I guess, the ideal of adoption. One of the things I want to talk about today is the gap between technology and economics when it comes to hybrid cloud and modernization of data centers. As far as I'm concerned, there's very little daylight left between what used to be considerations for technology and considerations for economics. And what that means is that people who are architects, who are making decisions, those who are thinking about how to progress and modernize their data centers must become, in a sense, business-minded, economic-minded people. They'd like to be data-driven, but from my vantage point, increasingly they have to be economic-driven. We used to talk about how people needed to do more with less. Now they need to do less and less and less with even less, if they can get away with it. That means there needs to be more automation. There needs to be more thoughtful process that eliminates redundancy, eliminates waste, eliminates excess labor. So one of the things that's interesting when I do talk to a variety of people, the enterprise architect's usually one of my favorite, because the enterprise architect will talk about what should happen. They have a roadmap of what technologies can bring about the right productivity. They also have long-range thinking. They're thoughtful about strategic implications for their organizations. And I love that. I love speaking with them. Many times they're right. But unfortunately, a majority of the time, their roadmap is torn apart. The people who are making economic decisions will trump the technology decisions. So we're seeing many times now with cloud, for example, mandates come down from leadership, sometimes as high up as the board of directors, about must-use cloud. A consideration that, frankly, I think is absurd. You mustn't have to use anything. You have to be purpose-fit. You have to be mindful of tactical and strategic roadmaps and integration points. But for now, and as far as I can see, the world is about economics more than ever. So what do people in the data center operations business need to think more of? They need to think about actually measuring things and providing an economic business plan rather than just a technology roadmap. And unfortunately, when you get into complexity, when you get into more and more opportunities for advancing models like transitioning from virtualization to containers, or moving from private cloud to hybrid cloud and ultimately multi-cloud, it's important to have an opportunity and ability to measure, monitor, quantify, and then present the rationale for what spending has or will need to happen. Just at this HPE Discover conference, I've spoken to several organizations, and one of the stark contrasts are those that have the horse in front of the cart and those that have the cart in front of the horse. By that I mean that many of them will embark on deployment scenarios and architectural shifts without putting the management, monitoring, and measurement capabilities in place. So they're out in front, and they think that's good. They want to be agile, they're under pressure to be fast and to adopt, but what they're missing is the ability to quantify, and so when they go back to try to advance that architecture, they might find themselves under a mandate rather than a logical, rational approach to architecture or a reasoned roadmap for technology adoption. The other organization is the one that actually will invest not only in terms of product, but methods, skills, and knowledge around measurement, around quantifying what's working, what's in place, and have a process for revisiting that over and over again. It's never done. You never measure and are done. It's a continuous process. So those who have the horse in front of the cart by having a capability to manage, monitor, measure across even the newest topologies, the newest technologies, the newest deployment models, have a huge advantage because they can keep up with the economic game. They can head off mandates with their own economic rationale, and therefore have an adoption pattern that is commensurate with the mandates of both the technologists as well as the business people. So we're encouraging the economic rules to dominate. Now, I recently conducted a survey as part of a webinar and asked people about what was it that they were doing vis-a-vis legacy modernization, or moving from a hypervisor legacy predominant traditional data center model towards perhaps containers, perhaps towards hybrid cloud. And what were their, what was holding them back? And increasingly, this is an economic equation. I was expecting to see at least some of them say, well, we're doing it for performance reasons, or we're doing it for application rationalization, we're going to consolidate apps, we're going to come up with a scheme that is a end-to-end data lifecycle approach. We might even start carving data out from apps and warehousing that data and analyzing it in different ways. But no, they were all about the spend. One of the things that I noticed as well is not only are they worried about spending too much in the near term, they're worried about spending money in the long term. And many of these organizations, when they are focused on obscure or rather opaque economics, become frozen. They can't move one way or the other. They have a technology rationale for why they should move, but they don't have an economic rationale. Therefore, they can't stay still and they can't progress. They often find themselves behind the 8 ball in catch-up mode, firefighting mode, doing too many manual processes, and therefore their competitors are, if they have management in place and economic rationale in place, advancing far beyond where they are. Keeping the troops happy and investing in management capabilities has become a new mantra for me, and it's what I repeat often to people. Looking past what rationales they have for speeds and feeds and performance, and coming up with a true business approach to IT. Many of these principles have been developed in IT service management through architecture frameworks like TOGAF and DODAF. But more often than not, the people in leadership positions within IT are still falling back into patterns of technology rules. So I'm hoping some of my insights will allow you to refactor economics and management and measurement as key elements for how you progress, how you convince budgets to grow, or even if they're shrinking, find a way to do less with less through better management, automation, process refinement. The time is now, because complexity, I think we're at an inflection point given the hybrid cloud, multi-cloud, containerization. I think we're about to embark on a much broader level of complexity, running multiple clouds at once, trying to continue to have development in one cloud model and then progress to an operational model that might be quite different. Things are spinning out of control. So my advice is to get your economics, your measurement, your dollars and cents in place to be able to then convince the higher-ups as well as the troops, keeping them happy as to the ability to be modern, be in an investment mode, and be in a growth mode. Those were my recommendations. I guess furthermore, one of the things that we're finding in some organizations that are successful is that when they do make those investment choices, when they are business focused rather than technology focused, they end up being fit for purpose. They end up trying more options when it comes to cloud, and they actually become more productive, and that reduces costs over time. Being a thoughtful adopter rather than an early or late adopter, to me, is the best way to go. Thank you.